Cristiano Ronaldo was very close to complementing the list of the traitor players. According to the media, the Portuguese was in negotiations with Man City, but the unpleasant talk with Guardiola made him change his mind. Man United took advantage and with the help of Sir Alex Ferguson brought Ronaldo back. But not all stories end like these in modern football. Many players' moves to fierce rivals go along with numerous threats and controversies. Even when they hang their boots, they can't feel safe. Goal 24 will tell you about the players who ignore the principles and move to the rivals. But first, a small quiz. I will never move to Jose Mourinho's team. I'd rather sell groundnuts in my village than to play for a pathetic team like Chelsea. Eventually, this player would play for Mourinho. Who is he? Have you guessed? And we're off. Hakan Calhanoglu. Moving from one Milan-based team to the other has become a common thing for players, but the fans are still not happy with such transfers. The Turkish player spent 4 years in AC Milan with no sign of trouble. He played better year by year and almost became a team leader, but the expiring contract played its trick. Rossoneri were trying to keep Calhanoglu in the team, increasing their offer several times, but it wasn't enough for the player. According to the press, AC Milan offered 4.5 million plus bonuses, but after a few failed meetings, the board decided to release the player on a free. Hakan had offers from several European clubs, but he chose the most controversial one, Inter. Nerazzurri had to sell Lukaku and Hakimi because of the financial problems, trying to poach players with expired contracts. There are great objectives in Inter, which is important because I want to win something in Italy. I want to add quality and substance to this club, said Hakan at his first press conference. But the Italian press claims that it's all about the wage, which is 5 million euros plus bonuses. So, Calhanoglu chose the fierce rivals only because of 500,000 euros. Pedro. Some time ago, Jose Mourinho had invited the Barcelona player Pedro to Chelsea, but the manager was sacked the second time they met in Roma, but Pedro never played well under the special one. This time, the player left the club and not the coach. Roma had to reduce the wage budget, so Jose let 15 players go. One of them was Pedro. Mourinho didn't take him to the training camp, so Pedro started searching a new club. Despite the offers from La Liga, MLS and Middle East, the winner decided to stay in Italy. Lazio offered a 2-year contract to the player, and Pedro decided to stay. He even agreed for the salary decrease to complete the move. What's more, Roma let the Spaniard go for free. They may receive a minor sum as bonuses, but only if the player reaches specific milestones. This deal shocked many people in Italy, as there hadn't been transfers between the Roman clubs for 36 years. The last player to move from Roma to Lazio was Astutino Malgioglio in 1985. All in all, there were 7 such transfers. Maurizio Sarri insisted on these transfers as he personally knew Pedro from Chelsea. Though Roma and Pedro parted by mutual agreement, the giallorossi fans didn't show the player a warm welcome during the last derby della Capitale. Carlos Tevez. The Argentine forward has shown how to earn hatred of the whole city because of irresponsible decisions. Tevez's English career began in West Ham, but soon enough it became obvious that Carlos was too good for the London-based club. Man United loaned Tevez and the player helped the team to win 6 trophies, including the Champions League. The Devils were going to buy the player, but Man City interfered in the deal, offering the player a much higher salary, and Carlos moved to the rival club without much hesitation. I know that many didn't approve my decision, but I don't regret leaving Man United, said Tevez in 2010. Had the Argentine merely played for City, he wouldn't have much trouble. But Tevez reacted aggressively to the United fans' provocations. He conflicted with the Devils players on and off the pitch and spoke badly about Ferguson. While celebrating the title, he held a banner saying "Rip Fergie." After this, the United fans started threatening him and burning shirts with his name. The player spent 4 years in Man City, winning 3 trophies, but even here he showed unsporting behavior. Against Bayern in the Champions League, he refused to come out as a sub, and the City fans hated him for that. After his transfer to Juventus, the fans of the two Manchester clubs united against the player, as he's not welcome to that city anymore. Gonzalo Higuain. Italy is a multicultural country with different regions trying to prove their uniqueness. For instance, the Neapolitans, Venetians, or Sicilians do not even consider themselves Italians. And the battle of the North and South is a whole different story. Napoli's fierce rivals are Juventus, though the Roman clubs are located closer. So imagine their disappointment when Higuain moved to Turin. Gonzalo's shirts were being burned in numbers, his house was almost demolished, and the player's face was printed on toilet papers and trash bins. Local bars were offering a 50% discount when Juventus lost games or Higuain got injured. Even the president of Napoli, Aurelio De Laurentiis, declared Higuain as a traitor. His transfer is disrespectful to all of us, he said. Gonzalo doesn't think he's a traitor. I don't regret moving from Napoli to Juventus. Traitor? How many players moved from River to Boca, from Inter to Milan or Juventus? The same happened with Pirlo and Ronaldo and many other players. It's a part of football. Well, Gonzalo was at the top of his form and he wanted to win trophies. Juve offered Napoli 90 million. That was very hard to refuse, but the fans were not satisfied with the transfer. Even after leaving Juve, the Argentine is still an unwanted guest in Naples. Götze, Lewandowski, Hummels. Dortmund have developed many top players that eventually left the club. However, the fans react negatively and aggressively to some players' transfers, especially Mario Götze. The beefed-out, big-grown player, who was supposed to be the golden boy and the future of German football, suddenly decided to move to Bayern in 2013. Dortmund received 37 million euros for the player. If the transfer was more or less understandable, Götze's first interview broke the hearts of fans. I moved to Bayern without hesitation. This is a step forward in my career. But this transfer can hardly be called a step forward. Mario didn't play enough in Bayern and moved back to Dortmund in 2016, though he never got back his previous form and the love of fans. Things were better with Robert Lewandowski. Bayern scouted him for a long time and they even managed to persuade the player not to extend his contract with Dortmund. As a result, the forward moved to Munich as a free agent in 2014. Bayern has always been a perfect place for me. I can make a step forward here. I'm confident I can help the club win trophies, said Robert after his move. And he kept his words. He has become one of the top players in the world and won many trophies. But still the BVB fans think he had better move to a foreign club like Real Madrid. But the situation with Mats is completely different. Hummels was a Bayern player, but because of the lack of playing time he had to leave the club. As a result he moved to Dortmund. When Mats played on a top level in BVB, Bayern bought him back for 35 million euros. After spending 8.5 successful years in Dortmund, this was a hard decision for me. I was always proud to wear black and yellow colors, being a part of a fantastic team, said Hummels in 2016. His career in Munich was better than Götze's, but again, it can hardly be called successful. Eventually, in 2019, Mats went back to Dortmund for 30 million, and he plays there till now. Is Hummels a traitor? You decide. Luis Figo. This story is well known to everyone. Figo's transfer from Barcelona to Real Madrid is considered the biggest treason in football history, so we couldn't ignore it. Luis was one of the Catalan leaders at the turn of the century. Everyone loved the way he played, but sometimes there's a fine line between love and hate. In this case, it took just one day. On July 23, 2000, the Portuguese declared he would never move to Real Madrid. The next day, he was posing at Santiago Bernabeu. On July 24, 2000, he became the most hated person in Catalonia. Later, Figo would say, it was an important and a difficult decision. I left a town that gave me a load, but when you don't feel gratitude for what you do and you have an offer from another club, you start thinking over it. After Figo's move to Madrid, each El Clásico in Catalonia was a scandal. In the first matches, it was even forbidden for Figo to take throw-ins or corners. Only 2 years later, the Portuguese would approach the corner flag to see someone throw a pig's head at him. The Barca fans threw to the field everything they had at the moment, from coins and thrones to knives. But the pig's head became the symbol of the era. Even today, 21 years later, Luis is not welcome in Barcelona. Well, he doesn't really visit the city very often. Ashley Cole. Apparently, the saddest thing in football is the move of your academy player to the fierce rivals. This is what happened to Ashley Cole. Ashley was one of the key players for the Gunners and the hero of the 2003-04 invincible season. In 2005, Cole was accused of conducting transfer negotiations without the knowledge of Arsenal. The Premier League committee found him guilty and fined £75,000. Interestingly, Jose Mourinho and Chelsea also were fined. The expiring contract and negotiations with rivals alerted the Arsenal fans, and soon enough, Cole signed a full-time contract with the Blues. Arsenal could have kept the player, but they didn't want to increase his salary from £55,000 to £90,000 per week. But Roman Abramovich did. Many years later, Ashley would say that money was not the main reason. I'm 100% sure this was not only my fault or Arsenal's fault. Probably I was too stubborn, but I will never regret that and I wouldn't change anything. But I feel injustice because people think I was after money. This is crazy, as money was the last thing I was thinking about. However, in the first derby, the Gunners fans waved fake notes with Ashley's face and called him Cashley. Steven Berghuis. The latest and the weirdest football treason happened this summer when Steven Berghuis moved from Feyenoord to Ajax. This Dutch rivalry is very serious and called Der Klassieker. Berghuis became the fourth player in 25 years that had the courage to change the cities, and the first one to move from Rotterdam to Amsterdam. Steven was not just the player of Feyenoord, but also the team captain. The fans were furious, especially after his first interview at Ajax. Berghuis said that only at Ajax he would be able to fight for trophies and the Champions League. This is how Steven in 1 second disappointed hundreds of thousands of fans in Rotterdam. We can confidently say that Berghuis is currently the most hated person in the Netherlands. His shirts are being burned all over the country, his family is being stalked, and Steven is being threatened. As for Ajax, they pulled off a sweet deal. The club got one of the best Eredivisie players for $5.5 million. The 29-year-old is very experienced and not a veteran yet. It's too soon to evaluate his game at the new club, but Steven has already earned the name of a traitor. There are numerous cases of treason in football, which are hard to mention in one video. We haven't even talked about Pedro and Ronaldo today. Andrea played for 3 Italian top clubs, while Ronaldo played for Inter and AC Milan, as well as for Barca and Madrid. Despite the controversial transfers, many fans have a positive attitude towards these players. Who do you think is the biggest traitor? Who is missing from our list? Write in the comment section below. See you soon.